Travel Talk, where our expert magical memory planners discuss ways you can have fun, memorable, and stress-free family vacations. Hi, welcome to Travel Talk. This episode of Travel Talk, we are going to talk about creating a travel bucket list. So I want to talk to you about 6 different ways that you can build out a travel bucket list. Do you have one? Are you thinking of starting one? Maybe you need to add some things. So let's talk about 6 different ways that you can add to your bucket list. The first way is to think about your family heritage. Do you know where your parents are from or your grandparents are from? Do you know some family foods or traditions or things that you've done in your family and maybe you want to learn more about them? So that can be a great way to add something to your bucket list. So my family is from Italy and I grew up in that Italian culture, and I have always wanted to go to Italy and see the places that my family was from. 2 of my grandparents were born there, and my dad is a first generation Italian American. And so that's just something that I would love to do. It's on my bucket list. On my mom's side, there's a history of Germany in her background. My grandfather came over when he was 3. And so again, my mom's a first generation American there as well. And so learning more about her German heritage is something that I've always wanted to do. If you're thinking about your family heritage, maybe you don't know that much about your background. One of the companies that we work with is Kensington Tours. They actually have a partnership with Ancestry DNA where they can go and work and partner with Ancestry DNA to get more information about your background. And then once they get that information, they'll custom make you a tour that takes you to the places that's your history, your personal history. So that's a really cool option if you don't know that much about your heritage and really want to learn more about it. So planning a trip to a place that you're from is a great way to add some items to your bucket list. The second way is through movies and entertainment. So do you have a favorite movie maybe that was filmed out of the country? Maybe you've seen some beautiful, backgrounds and scenery that maybe add something. Or maybe there's a TV series that makes you want to go to that location and experience or live out something that you've seen on a TV show. And even books can bring a lot to our history and experiences that we want to see and learn about. So one example is like Lord of the Rings. So that was filmed in New Zealand, and there's some really cool tours on Holland America line that they have out on their cruise ships that go out to New Zealand, that you can actually go to some of those places that they used in the Lord of the Rings series. If you are a big book fan, you may have read a lot of Anne of Green Gables, and that might take you back to Prince Edward Island. And that's a great tour stop on many New England cruises, New England and Canada cruises that will go up that way. And you can go to Prince Edward Island, and there's some tours and things based around that story. There's also some great things if you're thinking about TV shows like Downton Abbey. So, pulling up to an estate and having the staff outside ready to greet you and spending the night in a castle. That is something you can do with Adventures by Disney trips to England. So maybe that's something that's on your bucket list that you want to do. But there's just so many TV and movies and shows that will just bring things to mind. And as you're watching those things and seeing those things, maybe that's something that you would want to add to your bucket list. Another item are special interests in food or architecture and art. So maybe you have a personal interest in a food or wine. So maybe you want to go on a specific food or wine tour. There are river cruises and different land tours that focus on wineries or certain food experiences. My parents took a river cruise across Germany, and they made a study of apple strudel, where they had apple strudel every day in different ports and were able to taste how it was different in all the little cafes across the way. But there's also some amazing architecture around the world. So if you've studied some of these things and you're really into architecture, that might be something that you want to see in real life. When you think about things like the Great Wall of China or the Taj Mahal or the Colosseum in Rome or the Eiffel Tower, those are things that are just, you have to see them in person to really experience them. And if you have a personal interest in some of that, that might be a place that you want to add to your bucket list. And there are so many great companies that we work with that do tours to these places, things like Adventures by Disney and Tau tours and things like that, where you can start including some of those places in. Another thing is art, right? So art, we study, we look at it, but to be in the presence of the art itself in real life is really a whole nother thing, right? So going to the Louvre and seeing the Mona Lisa in person, or the Trevi Fountain in Rome, or going to the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City and just looking up and being able to see that in person, that can be a real bucket list item. So if those are places or things that you've studied or have an interest in, going to their original locations and seeing them in real life can be really a bucket list item for you. So the next category is historical events or time periods. So some people have an attachment, whether it's because of some personal history in their family or just an interest in different historical events and time periods. So maybe you're a history buff, and maybe you've studied a lot of history and world history, and are interested in maybe the World War II. And so maybe Normandy and Berlin and Auschwitz camp, or Pearl Harbor are areas that you would really want to go, and you can study them, but then when you go there and think about what happened there and really experience it in real life, it can really make that memory or that history come alive for you and help you to have a deeper appreciation for it. So that might be a tour or something that you're looking to do. There are definitely tours that focus on those types of things, so that you're also traveling with like-minded people that are also have that historical reference or that historical interest, which is another way it can really help bring it to life when you're with others that have the same interest. Maybe you have an interest in more of an ancient culture. So maybe ancient Egypt or Greece is something that you're really interested in. And so with different tours, you can head to see the pyramids in real life or the Parthenon, things like that. So, if you have a history buff, if there's a particular time frame in history that really interests you, going to those places and experiencing them, walking the ground, standing where these events took place can really, make that history come alive for you, and maybe a bucket list item to kind of bring that all together for you. The next category is sports and activities. So if you have a hobby or a sport, there's sometimes destinations that kind of go along with that. That would be something that you would maybe want to visit and do in person. The first thing that kind of came to mind for me when I was thinking about this was people that maybe study the martial arts. So if you study karate or Tai Chi, then maybe China is someplace where you want to go. And some of those tours and activities may allow you to go to a studio or to work under somebody there and practice your martial arts with people from that culture and understanding it better because you're there. If you're into judo or jujitsu or sumo wrestling, maybe you want to go to Japan and again, see that culture and see those people. So those are some of the things that kind of came to mind to me when I was thinking about sports and activities to better understand by going to those original places and to those original people. If you're maybe not into martial arts, another thing that came to mind was golfers, right? Because there are golf courses all around the world. And I was looking up some of the top golf courses. And so if you're really into golf, it might be on your bucket list to golf at some of the most iconic golf courses around the world, maybe places where PGA Tours went or other golf events took place, and some of the most iconic or beautiful, memorable golf courses in places like Ireland and New Zealand and Scotland. And again, traveling to those places with other like-minded people who are also golfers might be a lot of fun because they're, checking off those bucket list items too. So again, sports and activities might be something that starts triggering some locations and places that you really want to go to and put them on your travel bucket list. So our last category to talk about is either missions or religious related locations. So based on your religious beliefs, there might be a place that you really want to go to connect with your religion and understand it better and to serve others if that's part of it too. So many Christians and Jewish people, they might want to travel to the Holy Land and go to Israel. And then that might be a bucket list item to go and walk where Jesus walked and go through that biblical history and go to those places and see it in person. And also, if you're a Christian or a Jew or another religion where service and taking care of others is a high priority, you might have a passion for helping those in need and going to places around the world that need assistance, places where they need clean water or medical supplies, places where you can help people that are less fortunate. And so that might drive some of your bucket list. So if you know of a particular organization that works in a particular region, if you sponsor a child with Compassion International and you have a child that you've been sponsoring in a particular country, you might be able to go there to meet them. If you've donated to an organization that provides clean water, you might be able to go there and go to the place where that well was put in and be able to see the people that you that you helped, and be able to learn more about what their needs are so you can help them better in the future. And that might even happen in a local area, but places that are hit by storms, by tsunamis or hurricanes, or have other devastation. And those might be places that you put on your bucket list of places that you want to go and help the people. So whether your motivation is your own personal your personal history and heritage, or whether it's a historical thing or a sport or activity or a hobby, or your religious beliefs that drive you, there's a lot of ways to grow your bucket list. And even if you don't get to go every place on your bucket list, to have that list, to know the places that you would love to go, write it down on paper, get out a map and try to mark them off, is just a really fun way to start planning ahead and looking ahead and setting goals. And, I hope that you can hit all those items on your bucket list someday. So while you're making your bucket list and you're thinking of those places, reach out to a travel advisor that can help you get to those locations, who knows how to travel them and can help you with those details. So happy traveling, everyone.